who on the active roster right now for Texas is most capable of breaking the combine like Xavier Worthy did? And maybe not even at that level, but like the guy that immediately jumped out to me was Alfred Collins. Alfred Collins and Isaiah Bond are probably the two guys that jumped out to me. Is like those guys could go to the combine. Bond could run some freaky fast 40 time. And Alfred Collins, just for a defensive lineman, I know D-line testing numbers seems like every year we're talking about them being in a different stratosphere. But Collins could be one of those guys that, whether you're talking about your RAS score or whatever it is that they put together now, Math Bomb on Twitter does a great job of putting out those RAS scores. Alfred Collins could have one that's like just a ridiculous number where you're like, dude, this dude is in like the top 1 or 2 percentile of defensive linemen ever at the combine.
Yeah. When you asked the question, I first just got to thinking of kids I personally covered instead of like, Isaiah Bond is like the easiest answer. You know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of surprised I didn't think about that. But first name I thought of was Jelani McDonald.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily sure about 40, but I know he'll do well on the 5-10-5 vertical short area quickness, and he'll run a good 10 split on the 40. Other guys, Bonds, Alfred Collins for sure. I'm really interested to see what Alfred Collins would measure in it. I think Ethan Burke would have a great combine too.
That's
former lacrosse player.
Even think about him, yeah.
Not that like he's necessarily going to run off the charts in the 40 as a lacrosse player or anything like that, but yeah. And Antoine, I'll get to your question in a sec because I have a funny story for that.
Honestly, though, Jordan, like I think for off-ball linebackers, I think the 40 is still relevant. But I think like especially for interior defensive linemen, offensive linemen, and edge rushers, I don't care what your 40-yard dash time is. Like if I remember when Terrell Suggs went to the combine, wherever that was, 2002 or 2003, he didn't run a good 40. He ran like a 4.8 something. And Terrell Suggs had the line that everybody recycles now. He's like, look, if I'm ever having to run 40 yards in a game, then there's something really, really wrong. So, which he's right. So you look more like you said, the short area quickness drills for edge guys, that 10-yard split in the 40 though, that to me is a number you can look at and maybe correlate some things to other guys and what they ran in terms of their 10-yard split.
Yeah, and some other guys too, like DJ Campbell's gonna light that shit on fire. DJ Campbell to this day is the most athletic offensive lineman I've ever seen.
Yeah,
like truly, and it's not close at all.
Yeah.
He's gonna light it up. Antoine said Dre Bledsoe, he'd light it up. Ant Hill, of course, that's easy. Samaje Burrell, I know would hopefully have a good vertical. I've seen him do a bunch of backflips in high school, so I know he can get up there somehow, and he's agile. I'm trying to think. Terrence Brooks is going to – I think he'd have a similar combine to Ryan Watts. And also, Ryan Watts had a great combine. It was just overshadowed because Texas had someone break the 40-yard dash record.
Yeah, Watts is another one of those guys, man. He ran, low 4.5s, I think 4.53 was what he ran in the 40. But
he tested much better than I thought he would.
But even then, like I wasn't expecting him to run that fast because we've never looked at Ryan Watts and been like, his long speed is really an asset. It's his length, it's his pop, pressing guys off the line of scrimmage, and pretty much everything else except long speed that makes Ryan Watts an NFL prospect. I wouldn't, the other guy too, over the weekend, I said we weren't going to recap the combine. Now let's recap the combine. Man, you were scaring me with some of the Jatavian Sanders chatter, but we kind of pieced it together late last week, and I figured it was more of a case of that foot injury, that ankle injury that he had early in the season against Kansas that just kind of lingered throughout the year, just getting that thing right. If I were him, he ran solid enough to show that he's progressed from the injury, but not good enough to where I think he can just rest on that. I wouldn't be shocked at all if Jatavian Sanders runs the 40 at Pro Day.
Yeah. Neither would I. What did he end up cracking 4.6?
4.69 was his official time. Yeah, on this he went 4.74 and 4.69.
That's awesome for him.
Yeah,
because his blocking tape isn't the best. He better be super fast for tight end. But Antoine, answer your question. If DJ or Cam Williams leave early, if they ball out, yeah, I completely see it happening. I mean, that's everyone's goal when they come to the University of Texas, especially, not every recruit is the same in each class. But those two are definitely, I think, could be 3-and-done guys. I could also see them, maybe they're in Christian Jones's world where they could, after 3 years, they're on the brink of being a day 3 and they want to come back and boost it. That I could see that happening as well. But I guess, before I forget about it, Antoine, your Kelshawn Johnson story. So I went and saw Kelshawn Johnson play. So Hitchcock is in or last year they were in a 4-team district. So they only have 3 district games. So they have to play mostly an outlaw schedule, which is like a fully non-district schedule essentially. And they were playing the Woodlands Christian Academy at home. And the Woodlands Christian Academy sounds how it looks. It's just a bunch of white kids, honestly, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm driving out to the game. I already know what's going to happen at the game. And, I'll strategically pick these games where I know that the person I'm there to see is going to, have a good game so I can post some highlights, stuff like that, right? Kelshawn has 3 receiving touchdowns, 180 receiving yards, 7 catches, a pick 6, and a 2-point conversion, right? And I've always really liked Kelshawn because he's incredibly fast. I believe he's run as fast as 10.62 or something like that. Mm-hmm. I believe he's running the 10.6s. I know he's gone sub-11 multiple times. But, dude, I'm serious. It was like he was a joystick. And, again, he's not playing the best comp, but it was like he was a joystick. And on the way out to that game, I texted the source of Texas, where do y'all feel about him? I'm just curious. This is my first time ever seeing him in person. It was, probably lower on the board. We want to see some more things from him. And, we like him, but there's other guys who we have higher. And I was just like, okay, which I kind of disagreed with originally. And then I went and saw him play, and I was like, yeah, I really disagree with that. He needs to be higher. And I remember texting the source, I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to be too lofty of comparison, but I really do sincerely see some Xavier Worthy and Kelshawn Johnson. Mm-hmm. And the person was like, whoa, pump your brakes. We're going to check him out again that you're saying that, but, whoa. And then after junior day, when I'm asking Kelshawn, what's Texas's message for you? He's saying, we see Xavier Worthy in you. We want to use you just like Xavier Worthy, stuff like that. And I was just like, all right. But yeah, no, Kelshawn Johnson, I love him as a prospect. He does remind me of Worthy. I think he's probably, what was his height at the combine?
5'11", I think.
Yeah, Kelshawn is probably about 5'10 and a half-ish, but Kelshawn is more compact. He's probably going to weigh more, but he's not as long. X is freakishly you can tell, I don't know what his wing is. He has to have a plus, and he's skinny as hell. So, his limbs look longer than they are. But with Kelshawn, he's more of a compact build, but, very similar play style where they're just straight burners. And, you can line them up at any receiver spot.
X right at 5'11".
Got it. And I think we have Kelshawn listed at 5'11", 160, if I remember correctly. I'm about to pull up his mile split. And Kelshawn Johnson, by the way, will be at the Texas Relays. And I'll be there as well. So
interesting.
Any locals in Austin want to come see everyone running a straight line?
You want to bother Jordan? Go to Mike Myers Stadium.
Okay, here it is. 10.49 is Kelshawn Johnson's fastest time.
Okay.
Yeah. 6.4 wind read. He's long jump 21.875. And he's never put up a long jump that wasn't 20 feet.
You think about the burners that we've seen come through Texas in the last, let's say, decade, thereabouts. Marquise Goodwin, they're all built different, right? The 3 that come to mind are Marquise Goodwin, Devin Duvernay, and Xavier Worthy. And I won't include A.D. Mitchell because
John Burt, he wasn't a burner.
No, but my man John Burt does have an 84-yard touchdown on his resume, though. First play of the Kansas game in 2015 from Gerard Hurt.
Yeah, they tried that play. I remember watching Charlie Strong attempt to throw a go ball to John Burt 10 times in the Notre Dame game.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that?
They hit a couple of those, and then I don't think John Burt had one the rest of the year.
Yeah. But anyway, sorry. Continue what you were saying before I threw in John Burt to a conversation he shouldn't have been in.
Evan Duvernay, Marquise Goodwin, and X, they're all built differently, right? Like X is by far the wiriest, if that's a word, of those three. You know, Marquise was an Olympic long jumper, so kind of in between. And then Devin Duvernay's built like a running back, like he's over 200 pounds. But yet, I mean, I watched again. I talk about it all the time. I watched Devin Duvernay run that 10.27 in the 100 meters when he was at Saxe. Was the wind behind him? Yeah, maybe. But dude, I don't care. He was flying, and I'll point it out whenever I get stuff wrong in looking at a player and giving my thoughts. I do feel vindicated though that Devin has been an all-pro return guy in the NFL, because I always felt like he could be a return guy, and we never really got to see it at Texas. But he's been that guy in the NFL, so props to him for being an all-pro in the NFL. But all three of those guys were built differently. But you notice how we're talking about burners, and like Marquise Goodwin's last year was in 2012, Duvernay's was in 2019. But this just shows you how different Sark is in terms of what he values at the receiver position, man. He values speed. There's a premium on speed, long speed, over-the-top speed, because you've got Worthy, got A.D. Mitchell, who went sub 4.35, 4.34 was his best time. You know Isaiah Bond can fly. Jordan, you know Matthew Golden can fly. We saw the track times when he was in high school, and he might be the best kickoff return guy in the country coming back for 2024. And those two guys aren't alone, man. When you're talking about Ryan Wingo, I mean, they've got guys in this receiving core that can absolutely go.